Welcome Wargamers, Doug here from 2 Plus Stuff, and recently I was sent this bad boy. This is the newest companion for the game Conquest, The Last Argument of Kings by Bellum out of Greece. They are a fantastic company with a wonderful game that I've talked about here on the channel quite a bit. We've covered the lore for multiples of their factions. This book is a sort of a collation of a whole bunch of different rules, add-ons, updates, that kind of stuff, and put it into one really slick looking package. It's a nice hardcover book, and it is of course the Conquest Companion. It comes with a whole bunch of lore, artwork, rules for various formats and stuff like that. We're going to unpack all of that today. Really quickly before we begin, if you'd like to get this book and save some coin on all of your purchases for Conquest, use my affiliate link down below. It'll save you 10% and it goes in an immensely long way to supporting me, this channel, my wife, our cat, all that stuff. I'm grateful for the folks who use that link every single time. It is life-changing stuff. So with all of that out of the way, let's go to the downward cam and check this guy out. And here we are with the Conquest Companion 1.5 edition. Open that up. It's a nice slick looking hardback book. We have starting off with a map, full map I should say rather, of the entire setting. Let me get something to prop up the back end so the glare is not so bad. There we go. That's a lot better. Now, let's see. We're going to move through here. Lots of forwards, lots of great things. And so it opens up with the lore. You have everything from your kind of cosmic horror beginnings of the nature of the gods, the origin of the Dweg home. This is all stuff you can find. A lot of these bits. Let me see if I can find an example here. A lot of the lore tidbits and stuff like that you can actually find on their website, but there are things in here that I do not recognize. Plus, they have these great little things scattered throughout of just like quotes from famous works within the Conquest universe, all these kinds of things. The Weaver Courts are a faction that was just added. As you can see, there's some incredible artwork. I mean, I am a sucker for the kind of art that they have put out there for some of these factions. The Weaver Courts were one that we're just now learning about. They've been referenced quite a bit in the lore, specifically with the Spire. But this is from that same faction. Look at that. And I love that piece of artwork. It's like a crazy hornet lady. There's just some cool stuff going on. The city-states, the Dominion was also a faction that was added. I'm going to be covering an immense amount of this lore, so that's why I'm kind of yada-yada-yaing it just a smidge. But let's see. Is there a... Actually, it would have been smart of me to find the glossary. Here we go. So we can check out and see what the actual lore they have. Gives you a breakdown of the timeline of the different factions, how they fit into it. The Spires, Dweghome, Hundred Kingdoms, Nords, Wadroon. Those are all factions we've covered here on the channel already. But the newer ones are the Old Dominion, the Weaver Courts, the City-States. All of those things are new with new artwork for them. There's a lot there lore-wise. And in between these, it's not just, copy-paste from the website. There are stories and more details about powers and belief systems, crusades that they went on. There's a whole bunch of more detail that kind of fleshes out the backstory for these factions. Now we get to the core rules. If you didn't know, in Conquest, The Last Argument of Kings, within the last couple months they released a 1.5 edition, essentially cleaning up the game, taking in a lot of FAQ questions, rebalancing stuff. Really, it was just a cleanup. It wasn't a full rewrite of the game by any stretch. One of the big things that they added was sub-faction rules for every army. It used to be just Wadroon had them with their chants and prayers and stuff. Now every army has sub-factions with playable rules that make them all very unique. So this was just kind of incorporating some of the changes that came out at that same time. So if you want a core rule book, you like having the physical book for your rules like me, this is pretty much the one-stop shop. They still sell the little mini ones, but this is a great compendium for everything in a nice hardback book. Goes through everything. I'm not going to go through, obviously, the core rules of the game. That's something you can do on your own with a free digital download. Again, all these things are available free, but many people, myself included, really do like having it all together in a certain way. For me, hardcover books. I love them. I just love them to death. I'm not going to go over the wounds too much. It goes through some great pictures here. And given the size of the book, the pictures, I should say, are rather quite nice because they actually are big enough. One criticism I've had of rulebooks in the past is like they'll give you an example diagram, but it's so small you can't tell what the heck they're trying to tell. So that's mostly specifically with one company, but Parabellum's always done a good job. And we'll move through command models, terrain, which honestly I don't think I've ever done garrison stuff before. Walk through draw events. Now draw events are interesting. They added some, changed some up. I'm going to let you read all these. Essentially, a draw event is when a unit is selected to fight, meaning you draw their card, flip it over, events happen immediately. So there are some really cool ones. I know stuff like Fury got a little bit of a cleanup in terms of its wording. Biotic Renewal, I believe, also did. There's some great stuff here. Again, it's not new to this book. It's new a couple months ago to when they updated everything. So here's all of our draw events and special rules, and basically walks you through how to fight a battle. Now, what's interesting is in the core rules section, they only give you 3 missions, but hold on, there's more. And these are, I mean, honestly, I kind of look at these as, oh, they give you 4 missions. Okay. I think of these more as like introductory ones. They just kind of teach you the concepts of game round length, how reinforcements come on, you know, the basics of objectives, not so much competitive play per se. We'll get to that in a minute. But then, immediately, it dovetails into Conquest First Blood rules. If you don't know, Conquest, the Last Argument of Kings, is a mass army battle game. First Blood is a variant of that, almost like how Kill Team is to 40k, where it's like a skirmish version. Kind of the same thing here. So in this one, the core mechanics of the game are exactly the same. You'd have draw events, draw cards, special rules, characters. Really the only changes for First Blood are you don't use rank and file bases. Everything moves independently. And the changes with that come with, like, you know, what does unit coherency look like and that kind of thing. Personally, I think it's a very fun format. But because of that, because it's pretty much a copy-paste of a lot of the core rules, with the exception of movement and things, it doesn't need to be reprinted, all of it in totality. And so, essentially, this is just the differences, right? You learn how to play Last Argument of Kings. This is like, okay, all that stuff you know, here's a few addendums, and it changes things just a little bit. We're going to kind of move through here, like how you allocate wounds. The round sequence is pretty much the same. Gives you a different action list, but I want to move past this. Again, it's just listing off the changes. Here we have some interesting stuff when it comes to our characters. So essentially, we've talked about this before. You can have like masteries, things that define what your character is really exceedingly good at, as well as items and spells to be able to customize them a bit more. How terrain functions in First Blood is a little bit different. Again, they move freely versus being in rank and flank. We're going to move past here. Draw events, special rules. Again, we already have those in the core book, but they can sometimes be worded just a smidge differently because you're not talking about full stands of units, rather it's individual models. So that's the real point there. It gives you a few missions for... Come on. Scenario 1, plunder the camp. And I like these, the scenarios for First Blood, because they don't give you like a map that you have to follow. Instead, it's just like, here's the idea we're going for. Make it yourself, and then here's the rules how to play it. That's my kind of war game, personally. But yeah. And so, organized play and scenarios, and these can be used for just about anything. I guess you can use them for, what, First Blood and the full game, because this is a 6x4. So is that. So yeah, I mean, these would be for the full game. And these are really, if you want to do like tournament scenarios, these are the missions you're going to be using, where they pull your forces in a lot of different directions. They have their own victory conditions and round rules. I like that quite a bit, and it ends on a picture of the map as well. So coming back here at the beginning, you can see everything is kind of listed out in a very cohesive way. Lore, rules for Last Argument of Kings, rules for First Blood, and then your organized play missions on the back. What this essentially means, and kind of my takeaway, is they wanted to have a one-stop shop for all the content that they wanted to release for 1.5 edition. All the factions that are coming out within 1.5 are here in terms of lore. You have your mass army battle game, your skirmish variant, and then they have just really gone out of their way to set out, these are our 6 scenarios we want to focus on for the competitive scene. And there is a competitive scene, as specifically there's a great one down in Australia. I believe there's another one on the East Coast, if I'm not mistaken, here in the US. But there's a lot of great things about this game, and this is just a book that allows you to sample all of it. Is it required? Absolutely not. I'm going to make that very clear as part of the review. This book is not required to be owned to be able to enjoy the game. The rule sets are both available for free. You can go onto parabellum.com and get the rules for Last Arguments of Kings in one PDF, the rules for First Blood in a second one again, and they will be totally separate. It's not like here where some of the things here are referencing because they've already been written. Not like that. It'll be its own complete rule book. So all those things are free. Most of the lore is free, available online with exceptions of the new factions and some of the bits and bobs from the kind of smaller stories. Beyond that, let's see, the scenarios I believe are for free as well. So like, it's not about buying the content because it's the only way to get it, which I actually love, compared to other companies where everything's exclusive to books that you have to buy. Nope. You can access it. However, it does give you a very, very nice all-in-one stop. If there's anything you want to know from Parabellum, it's in this book pretty much right now. Like, that's nice. I had no idea that this book was coming at all. It just arrived on my doorstep one day, and I wasn't paying attention to their release news. I didn't even know it was being produced. I knew they were coming out with a new compendium that was going to kind of redo the rule books and stuff like that, so that the 1.5 editions now have an easy access point. But in terms of the amount of artwork, the amount of lore, the rules for both systems in a way that they don't just constantly repeat one another. They kind of took out the copy-paste parts from the First Blood, as well as the competitive scenarios and stuff, just to have it all in one place. I think it's $49 US, something like that. It's great. I mean, again, amount of art, the hardcoverness, it looks like a nice book to put on the shelf, or you can put it on a coffee table. It's beautiful, and all the pages have their own full artwork with backgrounds and scribbles and all these kinds of things. It's the same level of quality I expect from all Parabellum stuff, and I'm not disappointed. So anyway, that is just a quick overview of the companion. Like I said, there's not a ton for me to talk about because everything's available for free. If you wanted it, you can go check it out. But that being said, I'm grateful for it because I love doing lore videos, and now there's a whole bunch of new lore in here for me. If you combine this book with the, I think it's Conquest and Heroes or something like that, the last one they put out, it has a campaign system. You would have everything you'll ever need to play any variant of the game. Yeah, I got to think about that for a second, but yeah, you'll have everything. So, let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. It's not a cash grab. It's not anything. It's all there for free. It's just, if you like it, let me know your thoughts. And if you're going to be picking one up, be sure to save some money with my code down below. So thank you all so much for watching and listening. Catch you next time. Happy wargaming.